Good evening, everybody. We are back. It's the Right Side of Campus podcast. It's 5 o'clock. That means only one thing. It means I'm on the air here to break down college hoops for January 2nd, 2018. Welcome, everybody, in. Hold on a sec. Let me turn that off. Whoops, my fault. Welcome in, everyone here. Ian Cameron joins you today. Babano on Twitter. Ian Cameron, it's a new lease on life. Everyone's got a new lease on life. It's another year. Another year we're alive here. What is your New Year's resolution, Ian Cameron, before we get into the show? Welcome in today. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm great to be here, big man. We're going to try to make this most weeks, at least, a Tuesday to Thursday ritual. Joining you at 5 o'clock here, except this week, of course, already week one, and we got to alter the schedule. Thursday is a big day getting ready to go out to the West Coast. Believe it or not, big man, I've never been out to Vancouver, British Columbia before.
Nice.
Never been to that part of Canada on the West Coast. So 32 years old and never been there. But finally, we're going to get out to the West Coast of Canada. We'll be out there with Gabe Morency, with Kyle Hamburg, with a bunch of SBR people. Chris Edge is coming up for that weekend. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. It's the 16th anniversary of Sports Rage, Morency's radio thing from 2002. So usually has that in Toronto. This year he decided, I got to visit my mom in Vancouver. Let's have the anniversary celebration out there this year. So it gave me an excuse and a reason to fly out to BC, and I'm going to do that this weekend. That'll be fun, but that's the reason I'm only going to be doing Tuesday and Wednesday this week, but we're going to try to make it Tuesday to Thursday throughout the rest of the season. We're into conference play. Things are heating up in college basketball. And big man, you asked me New Year's resolution. My resolution is end the year making some profits, doing this on a daily basis across all sports. But most importantly, and I mentioned this on Twitter, I want to see the sports betting industry take a big step forward in 2018. I don't know if I can make that a resolution, but I'm sure as hell hoping we see that. I think the New Jersey case is the first big step forward to making that happen, making this industry go in terms of blowing up in the mainstream long term. So that's all the things I'm looking forward to. Just health, happiness, have a good time with people, family, friends, that kind of thing, meet new people, which I'm going to have the chance to do out there in Vancouver this weekend, for instance, and make some money doing this daily grind on a daily basis. If I can have that all at my disposal and a reality in 2018, big man, believe me, it'll be a good year indeed.
Yeah, we're one step closer, I think, Ian, to that making reality here in this area. As many know, I have my family's a shore home in New Jersey. I spend my summer there, so I'm waiting with bated breath. Hopefully, that Ian, I told my mother and father the next. I was chatting with them over the holiday. I said the next thing I'm going to do after I lose weight is go buy a house, and I'm looking at buying something in Atlantic City. I think that's my goal, really. I'd like to live, there full time. You be in the city, be close to the books, and hopefully by that time, kind of taking off with everything. So yeah, good New Year's resolutions, Ian. Let's get into it today. Tuesday, January 2nd. Just wanted to let everyone know, just some housekeeping here. I did not have a play yesterday, which I'm kind of happy about. I didn't like the card. There was only about 5 games, and the only lean I really was considering was West Virginia. I didn't end up playing it, but it did have some soccer winners today, which was nice. But on the season, 61-37 in college basketball, 62%, up over 20 units, 20.1 units to be exact. So we'll take it. And do want to shout out a friend of ours, Ian Cameron, Matt Varnum, who's going to be doing a little moderating here on the videos. He's not going to be he's not a project manager or anything, but he's going to keep everybody in line here. Yesterday I had a video and I had a ton of views on it. I had like 1,000 views at one point live, and it was getting a little ridiculous. So I had to bring people back in a little bit, Ian Cameron, if you will.
Well, that's the way it is. Good for Varnum. He's earned that opportunity. He supports all our shows. He watches 90% of them. I mean, he's been a great supporter of all of our efforts. Big man, you, Donnie, myself, everybody at SBR. So he's a good choice to be a moderator. He ain't going to take any shit. So if anyone starts something, I'm sure Matty Varnum's going to be on the case and giving the old whack with the whip there, like whip on the hands there. No. You're going to behave in this chat room moving forward.
Adam Lastman saying we're all men here. Well, it's questionable if you are, but we all are. I've seen you make plenty of comments in here that are a little bit tiptoey. So we need to make sure that we keep you in line, Adam Lastman, and everyone else in here. So we welcome all of you in. It's Monday, or it's not Monday, it's Tuesday. Let me get in my play of the day, and then we'll kind of go hard here. And again, it's not that I don't mind. You say whatever you want about me, and I've told him I don't want him blocking anyone that says anything about me. I just don't want like the dumb shit, the where's the game at, or stuff that has nothing to do with what we're talking about in here. You come in and start talking about you like hot dogs, you're out of here. I mean, there's no need for you in here. Let's get into it, Ian Cameron. I'm going to go with my play of the day right out of the chute here. I'm going to go back to the totals market. Had some success with that about a week or two ago. And I see a total tonight I really like on the card. And it, to me, is the best play on the board. I'm going to go over 158.5 in William & Mary, James Madison. I really like this total. William & Mary is a team that I know you know about. Many of the listeners know about. This is a team that is hyper quick, very fast, love to play in transition. You look at what they've done this year offensively, and pretty impressive. 87 points a game. They shoot 52% from the field and 80% from the foul line. They've touched 100 points or more 4 different times this year, and they've actually gave 100 points up a couple times as well. Both these teams very weak defensively, particularly James Madison. You look at kind of everything they do defensively. They're not particularly good against the offense that William & Mary runs. They're also not particularly strong down low either. I think they're going to have some major issues stopping William & Mary tonight in transition. And William & Mary, on the other hand, they haven't been very good defensively either. They're among the worst also. I actually backed them a couple weeks ago against Ohio State, and they just couldn't get a stop. I mean, every single time down the court, it seemed like they were making a shot. Both these teams are top 130 in the country in tempo and possessions per game. They like to get up and down. Last year, I believe the score was 95-92. I don't know if we'll see that this year, but I did a little digging here on James Madison. And Ian, when you're looking at overs, you want to look at when teams play another high-powered team, how does the game go? And I found a couple. One of which, App State, James Madison, 105-99. They won that game. They also played the Citadel, 84-82. When you get out and run, and you need to get out and run, they get out and run. They're not going to make you slow down. They're going to play your pace. Both these teams, 80% and 74% from the line. This just looks like one of those, everything falls into place overs here, and I'm going to go with it. Over 158.5 in this one.
I feel like I should be saying a Jerry Seinfeld, beginning one of his comic skits and saying, what's the deal with Colonial Athletic totals on the Tuesday night card? Because I've got 2 of them, 2 different games than the one you're talking about on total. It seems to be Colonial Athletic totals are tickling all of our fancies here on the card tonight. Yeah, I don't disagree with that one iota. I mean, you got 2 deficient defensive teams there, James Madison and Bill and his bitch, William & Mary. It's 2 teams that can shoot the ball very well, 2 teams that hit their free throws. No argument here. The total seemed to me in this game to open a touch high. It was about 161 when it opened, but you're getting better value now. There was some under pressure and under money that came in and has brought that down into the high 150s now. So you're getting the best of the number, big man. No problem with that there. So you're getting a good number with that, and I wish you the best of luck. I certainly wouldn't talk you out of that. Matt Varnum saying he's still at work. Come on, Matt Varnum. This is your new job now. Nuts to that noise. Get out of there. Get in the chat right now. Let's go.
He does have to earn a living. I'll knock the kid for that, but
I'm kidding. Yeah,
no, he's good. We should be fine in this chat tonight. It was mainly for those chats when we do betcasts and things like that. But I also want to point out with as you said, Bill and his bitch here, William & Mary. You look at what they shoot from 3, 46%. As a group. I mean, that's among the best in the country. That's really high. That might, if I'm correct, I think that's the best in the country. The way they run offense is just, it's just blistering. They love to score the basketball, Tony Shaver's crew. And 46% is pretty unbelievable. You got a couple guys in this team, Ian Cameron, shooting 54% from 3, 56% from 3, 58%. This is a good basketball team offensively. I like this number. I think this game gets into the 160s for sure. Let's go over in this one. I do want to double check something here. Give me 1 second. As always, we have Adam Lastman calling out the number, of course. Want to make sure we get the best of the number here. And I really could care less what the number is. As long as it's not 165, I'm good. We'll update the number here. When I looked at it, it was 158.5. We have a current number here of 158.5 at UWager. And I have that book, so I'm going to use that one. But if it's 159, it's 159. Either way, I have 158.5. That's where I got it. I'm going to rock with it there. So,
and he's moving the number. Look at this lighting up my screen here. You wouldn't believe it. It's 160 now across the board. William and Mary James Madison total. It's getting hit as we speak. Wonder why that is. Wonder why.
Maybe that's to do with me. No, but I'm only kidding. Yeah, I could still have a 158.5 at UWager and at Pinnacle. Both those have 158.5. So we'll rock with those. 158.5. William and Mary James Madison. Ian Cameron, let's get into some games to you. Let's go to Ian Cameron, as Drew Martin would say. What do you got tonight?
We're going to go, well, you know what? We got the Colonial Totals theme going. Let's go to one that I like quite a bit, and it's also getting hit upward as we speak, which is the way I like to think this game's going to go as well. We're going to go over, I got 149 in this game, the total, Hofstra, Northeastern. We're going to go over that number as well tonight. So here we go, Colonial overs. Let's rock and roll. Jeff's on one, and I'm on Hofstra, Northeastern. Look, you got Hofstra. Joe Mihalik now has been the coach there for a few years, came over from Niagara. And even in Niagara, and it's the same now with him here at Hofstra, this is pretty much an all-offense, no-defense team. It's always been that way here with this Hofstra Pride team. A really good offensive team they are, Hofstra. No question about that. They can absolutely fill it up. They can score. The basketball got a couple of really good scores. Rostas Guskis is one. The guy with the hyphenated name escapes my mind right now, but he's a great player for that Hofstra team. Fantastic scorer for them. They're a good shooting team, but they're also a porous defensive team. And I think that's going to continue tonight against Northeastern. Northeastern's gotten a little bit healthier for Bill Cohen's squad. They've gotten a little bit more of an offensive production for them, better shooting the basketball lately as well. Defensively, though, we've also seen them struggle at times against some of these more high-powered attacks. And when you look at the way these two teams are trending from a totals perspective, I also like with the way this game sets up. You've got Northeastern trending over the total recently, and you've got Hofstra, particularly on the road. They're 6-3 to the over on the season, Hofstra. They're 4-0 to the over. Perfect 4-0 in lined road games to the over this season, Hofstra. I think we're going to get points in this game. I don't trust either defense, particularly these two teams are not good at defending what the other team does well. So we're going to go up and over. 149 is what I got. I think it's let's give what's out there right now. It's 150, pretty much the widely available number across the board. Let's go over 150. Hofstra, Northeastern, another Colonial total. Let's go.
Yeah, both these teams are particularly bad at defending pick-and-roll situations. Justin Wright-Foreman is a good player for Hofstra.
That's it. There we go.
24 points a game. Eli Pemberton as well. Augustus has been there for about 8 years. He's done a nice job. I like this team offensively, particularly. And both these teams, like you said, they don't really defend well at what the team does well in the offensive end. Like these two totals, I'm feeling it a lot. Let's keep it going here. Another game that I was very fascinated by, and this game was pretty close for me as being a play. Probably have a small play on it myself. Drexel, UNC Wilmington. I'm not really sure why UNC Wilmington's laying 3.5 in this game. You can still get 3.5 at betonline.com. They have 3.5 plus 100. Pinnacle has it as well. Sports Betting AG also. I like this Drexel team, Ian. I like what Zach Spiker's been able to do there so far. They've had a team that isn't scared anymore. They're not going to go into games timid. He's a kid that has recruited well there. He's starting to get his guys in. And this UNC Wilmington team blows. I mean, they suck. They're awful against the number. 0-9 on the year, Ian Cameron. Haven't covered a number yet. They're 7-16 at home over the last 23 games to the number. And they're among the worst defensive teams in the country, 85 a game. Last game out, lost to Elon. Before that, lost to Loyola, Maryland, for God's sakes. Actually, I'm sorry, that's Drexel lost to those teams. So I'm kind of knocking my argument. But either way, UNC Wilmington lost a tough game as well. They lost, I believe, to Delaware, I think. I think they only managed like 58 points or something in that game. This Wilmington team's bad. CB McGrath is a tough assignment here with this team. Kevin Keats is long gone, and he's not coming back. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't think we couldn't see a win here from Drexel on the road, but I'll take the 3.5. Looks like a pretty good play. The only thing that's keeping me off of it is the concern about some injuries at Drexel.
Yep.
I know Tremaine Isabella's hurt, and they've had some other as well, Tyshawn Miles. And with a team like Drexel, it's hard to get a ton of great info, but they are a Philly school. Maybe I could try to find some info late, but this is definitely one I had my eye on.
I was leaning. I actually have a small bet on Drexel here +3, and the reason I'm concerned about it, and I know Wilmington laying points is not something I'm interested in, and they're a terrible point spread team, as you mentioned. They're a terrible defensive team as well. I think they're 342nd field goal percentage defense in the country. That's horrible. I mean, that's just not going to get it done if you're the Seahawks. They missed the old coach who's now at NC State, Kevin Keats. They're still playing fast. They're still scoring points, but their defense is horrendous. We've seen that time and time again this year from Wilmington. The one concern is, how is Wilmington, this bad point spread team, and yet they've been bet up here in this game? It was -2. Money came in up to 2.5. Then it went to 3. Then it went to 3.5 actually on Wilmington. Finally, there's been some buyback on Drexel the last hour or so, bringing it back down to 3. But it's weird that there's a lot of support for Wilmington for this wretched point spread team. This is actually the game that I've got my other Colonial total in tonight. I've got the over in this game. It was 153. It's moved up to 155 now pretty much across the board, but I think we get points here. Look, this Wilmington team is an absolute disaster on the defensive end of the basketball court. They're giving up 87 points per game, 50% shooting to their opponents. That's absolutely horrendous. Both meetings between these teams last year hit the 160s, and both meetings last year between these two teams, Drexel and Wilmington, had higher totals than this one. This is 153. We had 157.5, even a 160 for the total last year. And with Drexel, from a pace perspective, they play a little bit quicker, but they seem to do it more when they're playing teams that like to play fast. I mean, you look at Drexel against Temple, Drexel against a bunch of these other teams that they've played recently, where it's more of a grinding style, more of a defensive style. The Loyola Maryland game, the Temple game, the Lafayette game. It's games like that. They don't mind slowing it down, but when they're playing a team like Elon, plays a little quicker, a good offensive team, like a Rider, plays very, very fast under Kevin Baggett there in the Metro Atlantic. Those two games in particular, Elon and Rider, 165 and 166 total points scored. When the other team wanted to play with pace, wanted to play with tempo, Drexel didn't mind going along with that one bit. I think we're going to see that same kind of game here because we know Wilmington plays fast. They don't bring much defense right now to the table. I think we can get over 153. Look, it was 160s in both meetings last year between Drexel and Wilmington. 160 is going to cash our over with room to spare tonight. So I like the 153 number quite a bit. It's moved up a bit to 155. Even at that number, I still think there's enough wiggle room and enough value to step in and get involved.
Like it. TCU Baylor's an interesting game, 5-11, 5-12. I'll be interested to see what TCU's mindset is after a tough game on Saturday against Oklahoma, a game in which they should have won. It was really kind of ripped out in the final minute or two. It'll be interesting to see where their head's at. But in the Big 12, you got to forgive and forget quickly. You got a tough schedule every single night. You can't be letting things hang over your head. And this is a team that last year had some growing pains. It'll be interesting to see how they play in a game like this. I think they're going to play well, though. I think they're a good matchup against Baylor. Baylor runs a zone. I think for TCU, I think that's good news. They've been able to handle zones pretty much. They have a great point guard in Jalen Fisher, who's been able to kind of dissect the zone. And without Akil, even if Akil does play, I still think TCU have a pretty good offensive night here. I think TCU is going to bounce back, but the question is, am I willing to bet my money on that they'll bounce back? I think they will, but it's a tough game. You got to lay points on the road, off a tough loss. It's kind of an interesting situation. Any lean here, Ian?
This is a fascinating game here. I took TCU at +1 in this basketball game. I just think they're the better of these two teams. I mean, I know Baylor's home court. They're going to be up for this game. I know that, but I was impressed in defeat with TCU's performance against Oklahoma on the weekend. Really, they let that game slip through their fingers. Maybe there's a little hangover effect potentially going into this game tonight. Maybe a small concern with that, but I think there's definitely a case to be made for TCU that maybe when they opened +1, I took a bite of TCU at that number. I think there's been heavy support for them, though. Now it's a flip of favorites. Baylor opened 1.5 home chalk. favorite, a point and a half on the road in this game. But I agree with the move completely. I mean, you're going to give me the better team. I think that's TCU. You know how I feel about Baylor and Scott Drew. You know how I feel about that guy. You get him in a close game in this kind of tough spot. I don't know if I have the utmost faith and confidence in him. Sorry, I don't. It's always been that way with me with Scott Drew, and it's still that way. I think TCU, the one concern again I have is that was such a tough loss against. They laid their guts out on the line in that game against Oklahoma. It was a hell of a basketball game on Saturday between those two teams. I had a lot of fun watching that one. Maybe they're just not quite sharp, focused, 100% effort, ready to go tonight after that kind of loss. But I still think they've got edges. I think they're on the upward incline in the Big 12. Despite that loss. And I think if they play the way they're capable of, they can get this victory here tonight. So I took TCU +1. Even at the current number, I'd still slightly lean that way in the Horned Frogs' direction.
By the way, according to Malta reports, Ian Cameron, Marvin Lewis has signed a 2-year contract with the Bengals. You know, it's unbelievable with this guy. I mean, he has to be the most lucky fucker I've ever encountered in sport. Amazing how he continues to just steal money for being mediocre. Yeah. But again, I don't blame anyone but the Bengals. Let's move on here.
It's like a cat with 9 lives, you know? It's like that.
Yeah, he just doesn't go away.
It's like that big zit. You can't get rid of it. Yeah.
Alabama Vanderbilt's an interesting game, Ian Cameron. I'm not taking the bait here. I think Vandy's the play. The whole world's in Alabama, but the line's going in Vandy's favor. Here's some things that I don't like about Alabama. One of which, I think they're a very average team on the road. I think they're young. I still think they're a bit inexperienced. They don't make free throws at all. They're 67% from the line. I want to back them at home. I want to back them, in the confines of Coleman Coliseum. And Vanderbilt's, I think, had a little bit of tough luck. I know they've been poor against the spread, but a lot of that's been, in a role where they're not picked to win the game. They're not expected to win the game. It's against better opponents. And I think they've had a little tough luck. I think they're better than their record may indicate. That's what non-conference play can do to you if you schedule correctly. I like their coach, Bryce Drew. I like what they have there. I think they're still a pretty good offensive team. And they can match Alabama physicality-wise in the post. I think they're a better defensive team. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them get the job done here tonight. A line just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It reminds me a little bit of a couple weeks ago with UNLV heading on the road to take on Northern Iowa, a team that you're kind of in the spot where the team's at home and the line's weird. You don't really want to bet it. Looks like a stone cold winner. This is a Vanderbilt line, and I'm not going to be goaded into taking it here.
That's a good game, a good SEC game, and you can never sell Vanderbilt short on that home court. It's been pretty good for them in recent years. I'm not sure what to make of this year's Vanderbilt team. A 5-8 team overall, facing what we know is a talented Alabama group. But you're right, this is a line that you sort of have to start scratching your head when you see Alabama open as the slight favorite on the road. Now you're seeing Vanderbilt 2.5, 3 at home as a favorite. So there's some big time Vanderbilt money coming in here in this game. I'm going to stay away from it because I think Alabama, I'm confident Alabama's the better team, but I got to see it on the road from them in a tough environment in a game that Vanderbilt's going to absolutely get geeked up for. Come on. I mean, it's Alabama. It's going to be, on SEC Network, or it's going to be on ESPN2, maybe one of those networks, but they're going to be fired up to have Bama come into this home court here, this home environment. And you're right. I've got to see more consistency, particularly shooting and also on the defensive end of the court from Alabama away from home, away from Tuscaloosa. We've seen them sort of, have some tough times a little bit. I know nice win against Texas A&M, but A&M's banged up a little bit. They're dealing with some key injuries right now. So let's see if Alabama can take care of business on the road. If they're a very quality team that I think they are, I think they have the chance to win this game. But all of this move toward Vanderbilt, it's puzzling me enough to want to stay away a little bit from this Alabama side tonight.
Yeah, I heard. I saw someone mention Delaware. I think they're going to beat Charleston tonight. I have a friend of mine that works at Delaware. He works at the scores table. He does some of the time stuff and all that sort of thing. He texted me and let me know that Kevin Anderson's hurt and might not play tonight. Kevin Anderson, one of their better players, and Charleston's a team that I'm not ever interested in betting against. They're really good on the defensive end. They're finally healthy. They got everyone back. Cheely, Grant Riller, everyone's pretty much back for the most part. And Delaware's another team that can't really defend at all. They're lost on the defensive end at times. I'm not running to the window about Delaware tonight, especially with some injury concerns and the fact that they literally played no defense. Alabama doesn't hit free throws. They stay away from them. Exactly. Don't forget about home court advantage at Vandy. That's a weird place to play the way the court's set up. Yeah, but I mean, remember, I mean, Alabama plays there every year. I don't know if that's a big deal. Like if Marist went and played there, maybe it'd be a problem, but I don't think that's much of an issue here. Is there anyone else with a weaker schedule than Michigan State? Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. I don't think they're a number one team. I don't know why they're number one. I think that's a ridiculous notion that they're number one. Look, are they a good team? Yes. But their schedule's poor. I mean, they're 24th in RPI. They have 10 wins against the RPI 101 or worst. They have only 2 top 35 wins. Their only good win is UNC, and UNC shot disastrous from the field that night. Other than that, they just don't have a ton of great wins. I guess Notre Dame. UConn's not a good win. You lost to Duke, and you played the likes of, fucking Cleveland State and Southern Houston Baptist and just complete dreck. They shouldn't be the number one team. They're not. They shouldn't be.
I think there's going to be money to be made going against Michigan State in Big Ten play. I really do, because they've been overvalued a little bit because of the great start they've had. That's mostly a soft schedule related start. It's a really talented basketball team. We know that. Bridges leading the way for them. Fantastic player. And, they're always going to be a team that's going to be hard-nosed, physical, tough under Tom Izzo. But I want to see them get tested here in the rigors of the Big Ten Conference, where you're going through that meat grinder and having to play, teams that are going to be testing you and are familiar with you night in and night out. So let's see what the Spartans are made of. I get a sense from a point spread perspective here, big man, they could be a little bit overvalued. There may be some spots to go against them in the weeks to come.
Yeah, Marist, Michigan, or Marist, Manhattan, people are asking about. I don't have anything on that game. Marist is a team that, I mean, they're limited talent-wise, but they're at home. I mean, I don't run to win to bet on Manhattan either.
I can't get Manhattan right, and I love the Metro Atlantic, and I follow this conference closely, but I can't get Manhattan right. I do think Manhattan's going to turn a corner now that conference plays began. I think they're going to start really improving, but laying 4 on the road, even though it's Marist, and Marist has been a bottom feeder in this conference for years and years and years, still not something I'm rushing to do to lay points with Manhattan. I want to see them put forth a good, dominant, consistent 40-minute effort first before I get in on a buy sign with the Jaspers.
Yeah, Michigan, Iowa, we got some people asking about. I'm not anywhere interested in betting on Michigan. 62.5% from the line. Iowa's not much better. Pass for me. Sorry.
Yeah, I've got nothing. I don't like Iowa very much. I think McCaffrey is sort of set them back a little bit. I'm not impressed with the job he's doing there. And Michigan on the road laying points. I tried that with Ohio State, and they blew that game, earlier in the Big Ten season. So I'm not rushing to lay points with Michigan on the road either.
Agreed. What other plays do you have tonight, Ian?
All right, let's see. What do we got here? You know what? I'm going to it's not one of my favorite plays on the board by any stretch of the imagination, but this team's banged up beyond belief right now. And they got a ton of key injuries. I don't know if they're going to be able to withstand it long term, but I think tonight they're going to be in for a tough game. I'm going to take 4. I took 4 with Penn State, with the Nittany Lions against Maryland. Maryland's that aforementioned banged up basketball team right now, dealing with a ton of injuries, particularly in the front court. The front line's going to be a little bit decimated a little bit for this Maryland team, not only tonight, but moving forward. So the injury situation is something that definitely concerns me about this basketball team. Penn State, on the other end, it's sort of, I don't want to say a leap of faith, but Penn State on the road against a solid Big Ten team. Can you trust them to get the job done? We know their step up in class efforts at times have not been great, and it's not like Penn State's overly challenged themselves in terms of their schedule to this point of the season. And when you look at who they've played, I mean, they played A&M, okay, they played NC State, but they lost both of those. They only won by 4 on the road against Iowa. They played Wisconsin. They lost that game at home by a single point. So it's not like they've faced a murderer's row schedule, Penn State. But, they've still got a guy in Carr leading the way for them, this Penn State team, dealing with a Maryland team that's really battling some serious injury and attrition issues right now, and a team that, I feel that they're okay when they're fully healthy. I think there's a lot of holes now starting to develop with this Terps team now that they're starting to get into their depth a little bit. And I'm willing to take a shot here with Penn State. Let's see what they're made of. I got 4. It's 3.5 right now across the board. Obviously, people seeing what I see. Maryland, not the healthiest team right now. See if Penn State can take advantage, take this one down to the wire, maybe even sneak out the outright road win. But we'll give Penn State a shot here tonight.
Yeah, I read an article recently in the Baltimore Sun about Mark Turgeon, and it's amazing how unlucky he's been in his career at Maryland. Every single year, Ian, since he's took over in 2009, I think, he's had a major injury of one of his star players. I mean, Diamond Stone, Melo Trimble, all sorts of guys throughout his career. He's always been a hard luck loser. It kind of sucks, but look at this year, another big injury or two. Like the show, exactly. Hit the like button, please. We would definitely appreciate that. Where are we going here? Another interesting one's Louisville. I'm not sure why on earth you'd lay big points at them right now. I don't really see it. They're not a team that, I know Pittsburgh's not particularly good, but I mean, neither's Memphis, and you had trouble with them. You had trouble with Albany. You had trouble with certain teams this year. You had trouble with St. Francis, for God's sakes, Omaha, George Mason. They haven't really blown anyone out this year. And they're coming off an absolute ass-kicking against Kentucky. Pittsburgh's not sexy. I know they're poor. I know Ryan Luther's out, but they've tried lately. I mean, they're getting a lot of points here. A lot of points. I mean, if they can keep this game under 70, I think they're going to cover. I know they're going to cover, actually. That's a tough thing to do against Louisville, and it is a game where Louisville's off a blowout loss, and they could definitely win by 30 here, but I'm not running to the window to bet big points here with Louisville. Pittsburgh's not good, but they're not good in the ACC. They've beaten a couple mid-majors that I didn't think they could beat, and they've done it without one of their better players. So I'm not running to the window to bet Louisville. Pittsburgh's actually, for the most part, I mean, the first, couple games of the season, they weren't good. But you look at, they hung against Oak State. They beat Duquesne, Duquesne's had a real solid year to start the season. Hung with West Virginia. They actually beat Towson. I know because I had Towson in that game. They're not as a pushover as people think. And in getting 17.5, I don't mind taking it.
Yeah, they're not a good team, Pittsburgh, but this is a clear pass. I can't trust Pitt. Still don't really love Pitt all that much, but I'm not going to lay this many points with Louisville. Louisville's not a team that's impressed me one iota so far this season. They've kind of played down to competition. This doesn't look like a vintage Rick Pitino squad so far by any stretch of the imagination. They've had their issues. They got absolutely murdered on the road at Kentucky for that special, what was it, a Friday game? Last week before the New Year. So just not a team I trust right now. And you look at them in this home chalk roll, it's been a little bit hit or miss with this basketball team. Really, their only good quality home win and cover was Indiana. And Indiana's, been up and down. So there's a lot to prove for me for this Louisville team. I don't trust them laying points, but I don't want Pitt either. So it's an easy game to say there's better games on the board than this one.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. It's not when I'm running to the window, but there's some people here that are talking about it. CMU, people are asking about that one. I talked about that one a little bit earlier with Drew Martin. Yeah, I like CMU in this spot. I think this Ohio team's going to have some trouble this year, especially with how they play, very up-tempo. And they just lost Jason Carter, which that might be a long-term thing. Jason Carter, one of their better players, went out with a leg injury. They're not a very good defensive team at all. And Central Michigan is just so much better this year than they were last year. I mean, they're about 20 points better on the defensive end. They're starting to play more as a team. They've just done a lot of good things really well, Ian Cameron. They don't foul a whole hell of a lot. I believe they're 6th in the country in fouls committed per game. So what that tells me is they can defend high level without fouling. They're not putting people in the line, and they're making you make shots in the half court. And that's going to be something I think Ohio will struggle with. Ian Cameron, also want to make you aware, Central Michigan leads the country in free throw percentage, 80.7%. They're at home here. They're 7-1 to the number. I actually like Central Michigan here as well.
No argument. I was leaning in that direction, and you like in these competitively lined spread ranges, like this game is with Central Michigan laying 2. You want your teams hitting those free throws late in the game. It makes all the difference in the world. If you've got a close game, what's going to happen in the final minute? You're going to get fouls. You're going to get someone's going to foul if they're down 2, 3, or 4 in the last 20, 30 seconds of a game. You want your teams in that kind of scenario to be able to hit free throws, and clearly the Chips are capable of doing that.
Yeah, Sammy Sharps is talking about saying that is Mississippi State better than Arkansas? No, not even close. Arkansas is good, man. I mean, they're a team, I'm going to tell you right now, they could have the best offense in this conference. I mean, they are really good offensively. I mean, they've put up like 90 or more in like 4 straight games. Or, I'm sorry, not even. Ian Cameron, listen to this, okay? They put up 102 against Arkansas. 92 against Colorado State, 95 against Minnesota, 88 against Troy, 104 against Oral Roberts, 95 against Bakersfield, and 95 over Tennessee. This offense is good, man. I mean, they're really good. And I love Mike Anderson. I think he's a great coach. I like Mississippi State, but as I said on the show with Drew, I mean, it's just a shame they play in the SEC. I mean, they're a good team, but they just have teams that are much better in this league. This will be a fun game, pretty high scoring, I'd imagine. But I'm looking Arkansas here.
I'm looking the other way, actually, here in this one. I don't trust Arkansas on the road just yet. I mean, and I'm an ardent non-believer in this Arkansas team, and I had Tennessee against them on Saturday. Tennessee led wire to wire. I don't know how the hell they coughed that lead up, but they did. They ended up losing in overtime by 2, but they got the point spread cover as +5, which made me happy. They hung on for that, at least Tennessee. Give Arkansas credit. I mean, at home, they've been lethal. Absolutely lethal. There's no question about that. And most of those gaudy offensive and shooting performances you brought up there, big man, they're great, but a lot of them were at home. A lot of them were against teams that, pitiful a little bit at the defensive end of the basketball court. See now what they can do. They haven't been on the road in a true road environment very often this season, Arkansas. You're going on the road. You're facing this Mississippi State team, and, is that I think is more than capable, that has played some of their best basketball, not only this season, but last season too, under Ben Allen at home. You get them catching 2.5 points here as a home underdog. Actually, obviously, you lose some value. I got a better number than this. I think I got 3.5 with them. It's 2.5 now. But I'd lean Mississippi State here. I mean, I think Arkansas, a grinding, intense comeback win in overtime against Tennessee Saturday. That's not an easy turnaround now to go on the road on a Tuesday night, play this Mississippi State team. This has the makings of them getting caught in a little bit of a trap here tonight, the Razorbacks. I like what they're doing. They've been great at home. I got to see it on the road before I believe it, and I don't think this is a positive spot. I think it's a negative situation for Arkansas, and I'm on Mississippi State here as the slight home dog.
We finally disagree, Ian. I like this offense. I like what I saw. Went on the road and put up a ton of points against Oklahoma. Those were neutral court. They were on the road, though. Let's be real. They're going to win some games on the road, but Ian Cameron, don't be surprised. Okay, and I'm just putting this out there. Don't be surprised to see them win the SEC this year. I like
this. There's a bunch of teams. There's a bunch of teams that could. Yep.
And they are really good offensively. Where are we going here? A couple comments here. First off, Happy New Year, big man and Ian. Love the show. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I'm not a big team total guy in college. So I can't really help you there. Never can emphasize the importance of free throws late in the game. It's the only thing that matters to me. We appreciate all of you guys for checking us out tonight. Ian, there was a question about Gabriel Morency. His band's not playing on this weekend, right?
No, I don't think Homicide has a performance or a concert in Vancouver this weekend. That's just him going out there and hanging with all the people that are going out there to celebrate the 16th anniversary of the Rageolution, as he likes to call it. Hard to believe he's been at it for 16 years and he's still alive to talk about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's longer you've been alive. You're only like 15.
Yeah, I'm only 10 years old. Exactly. Yeah.
By the way, according to John Rothstein, Bonzie Colson, Notre Dame will miss 8 weeks with a foot fracture. Awful blow to Mike Bray's club. That's a huge loss. One of the better kind of mid bigs in the country. That's a big loss for that group. Too bad. And that's also been confirmed by Notre Dame basketball themselves. So that's a tough loss there. San Diego State, I like what I've seen from them lately. I mean, particularly on the defensive end. I was questioned if we'd see the same intensity from them than in years past with Steve Fisher there, but they've really picked it up. I mean, that Gonzaga performance was impressive. I'm not a big Colorado State guy, and this number's gotten a little away. I feel like it should be like 5.5, not 8.5. So it's a pass for me. Another good one, Ian, Tennessee, Auburn. That's an interesting game. I was one to think that was a little too many points. Auburn does a lot of things well, make foul shots. They're a good three-point shooting team, good rebounding group as well. You got to wonder where Tennessee's mind's at after that loss to Arkansas, losing that game the way they did. It's a shame Auburn doesn't have Wiley and Purifoy. They'd be quite the sleeper, I think. And Bruce Pearl, going back to his old home here, he knows his Tennessee area well. Kind of like Auburn a bit here. I think it might be one too many points.
This is one of the better games, actually, that I'm in terms of the ones that I'm more excited to watch. I just want to see how Tennessee responds, because that was awful. If you saw that game, I mean, they played as well for 35, 36 minutes as they could have against Arkansas on the road. We know how good, we just talked about it, how good Arkansas has been at home this season, and Tennessee could have and should have won that game, coughed it up late, end up losing in overtime. Not the easiest kind of loss to bounce back from if you're Tennessee now, even though you're back home. And playing a team that should motivate you here, an Auburn team that's played very well. I mean, you can laugh all you want about Bruce Pearl and some of the antics and some of the things he's had go on with him in the past and the suits and all that stuff. But the fact of the matter is, he's gotten a good performance out of this Auburn team. But the one concern I have with Auburn is they faced a very, very easy schedule to this point of the season. Tennessee's really cut their teeth on a very tough, grinding, bruising schedule, much more than Auburn has so far. So let's see if Auburn can handle this step up in class on the road against Tennessee. Battle tested, faced a ton of good teams. He's having to deal with it now with a couple of key cogs too out. So let's see how Auburn deals with this here. I'm going to take my Tennessee money from Saturday and put it in the pocket. I'm not back on that side this week or in this game. It's tough turnaround after that kind of loss, but I've got concerns about Auburn. Are they ready for this kind of opponent here tonight?
I'll be real. I'm not a big fan of this night of college hoops. I'm not a big fan of Tuesdays because I'm not a big MAC fan. I don't really like the Big Ten to bet on. CAA can be irritating. SEC is kind of tough. It's not a great night, but I think we've definitely found a couple games that I definitely like and that you like as well. Before we go, Ian Cameron, one question here. Can you explain Georgetown DePaul? I think you have a play on that game. What do you think?
Yeah, Justin Searcy, good question, because I posted DePaul -4. Look, I don't trust Georgetown in a competitively lined game to finish the deal in a close game. How bad has Georgetown been in a close game? They've been absolutely horrendous.
Who they played? I mean, they've played no one.
No, they haven't. And laying 3.5 and 4 points with DePaul on a regular basis against a JV basketball team can sometimes be tricky. I understand that.
They're a lot better though this year, I think.
They are. I think this is a year where DePaul's making inroads. I was impressed in defeat because, again, there's no moral victories in sports. I understand that. But I was impressed in defeat with what they did at Xavier on the weekend. I really was. I mean, battled a tough, good Musketeers team down to the wire, had a halftime lead, obviously second half. Xavier does what they'll often do, especially on their home court. They'll come back. They'll find a way. They've got a ton of great players. We know that. That can score the basketball. McCura and a bunch of them can absolutely fill it up for that Xavier basketball team. And they caught DePaul at the end. But there's nothing to be ashamed about for that performance by the Blue Demons. And I think back home, it's a television game, I believe. This is a Fox Sports 1 national TV broadcast here. Georgetown and DePaul tonight, the second game of their Big East doubleheader. They got Butler Xavier prior to that. That's going to fire up DePaul. That's going to stoke them, I think, to a good performance. We see it time and time again, Georgetown. They're not ready to win in a close game. And if they have those close game, end game problems again, DePaul's going to be able to have that ability to take a 2-3 point lead late and extend it to 5, 6, 7. That's going to get you in the money. I like DePaul there.
Yeah, I like DePaul. I think, they're kind of an interesting program. They've had trouble in Rosemont. They got a new stadium, kind of have some, impressiveness to that program all of a sudden. And Georgetown, I don't believe in. I've mentioned that before. I think Ewing will build something there. But, right away, they've struggled. And you could see the writing on the wall. I mean, he wanted to get his team some wins here, but 10, 12 games in. But, I mean, that schedule is disgusting. I mean, that schedule is among the worst in the country if you're a Power 5, Power 6 team, isn't it, Ian? Wow.
No question. Georgetown to me is in trouble. I really do, until they get these close game situations figured out. And, Patrick Ewing, and that's another thing too. He insists on this team playing up and down, frenetic style of basketball. That's not a good style of basketball to play when you treat the basketball like a hand grenade. I mean, this Georgetown team's horrible turning the basketball over. That's been a huge problem for them. Their turnover rate is simply way too high. That's not good either, facing DePaul, the way they like to get after you too. So that could be a matchup problem in a big way for Georgetown if they don't value the basketball any better than they have so far this season.
Yeah, one final game before we go here tonight. We talked earlier on the the right side of campus about the Kansas Texas Tech game. I think I kind of look at this point kind of like I look at Xavier Butler. Butler off a big win. I mean, you got to go on the road. You haven't been good on the road to begin with. Xavier's kind of a different animal. You've kind of had Villanova's number. But Texas Tech's a team that I'm a bit concerned with as I've looked at some things. Zach Smith's injured. And you look at what defense they run, pack line defense. They're going to allow you to shoot the basketball. I don't know if that's a good idea against Kansas. But Kansas is very efficient offensively. They're very good from the three-point line. And it's in Kansas. Last time these two teams played in Lawrence, it was 85-68. I got a feeling it's a similar game. I think Texas Tech on the other end, when they play in Lubbock, it might be a different game. But I kind of liking Kansas at this point for some reason. But I could see again. I mean, it does seem maybe like a lot of points, but I think when I kind of really handicap the game, I'm concerned with the defensive tactics tonight for Texas Tech. But for me, the play of the day is going to be over 158.5. William and Mary and James Madison. Why don't you let the listeners know of your plays one more time?
Yeah, quickly on a couple games we didn't get to. Xavier Butler. I like Xavier minus 6.5 there. I'm always looking to bet against a team that shoots way beyond their expectation level in their last game, and that was Butler against Villanova. You give Butler 99 times out of 100 to play Villanova. They're not hanging 101 points on them like they did in that game. That was a once-in-a-lifetime shooting exhibition by Butler. What goes up must come back down. If you believe in pendulum swinging, I think we see that from Butler tonight. They're not going to shoot anywhere close to what they did last time out against Villanova. Now they got to go on the road where they're 1-5 ATS and 6 road games this season. Xavier, all the talk from Xavier was we weren't happy. We were sloppy with the performance against DePaul. They want to put forth a better start to the basketball game tonight than they got off to against DePaul. So I think it's a tough spot. Butler off that huge win against Villanova, going crazy about it. Let's see them do it on the road where they've been largely very bad this season, the Butler Bulldogs. I don't think they can. Good spot for Xavier. We'll lay the 6.5 there. Florida A&M. Quick question on that from Kyle Hamburg. No opinion really on that game. I know Florida's taking money because A&M's banged up. Gilder, Hogg, dealing with injuries for that Texas A&M team. That's a problem area right now. They got absolutely crushed on the road by Alabama on the weekend. I don't trust A&M to withstand all these injuries. They're clearly struggling to deal with it. But how's good's Florida? I mean, they're still a money-burning team right now. They've been horrible against the spread. Now they're going on the road. I know A&M's banged up, but I don't trust Florida right now either. I mean, it's still an offensive team, scattershot at best. Defensively, they've not been quite as good this season either. So it's bet against elements on either side. So I passed on the A&M game there.
I got nothing on Nebraska there. NASA J. Anything on Nebraska tonight?
Actually, you know what? Nebraska, I took Nebraska, actually. I really did. I mean, Northwestern, they've got the injury to Bryant McIntosh. That's a big deal for the Wildcats. They're going to be able to cover this kind of number. Say what you will about Nebraska, and usually I'm very reluctant to step in and support them on the road, but they've been more competitive on the road lately. They've been a little bit more of a better ATS team on the road recently than they've been maybe in seasons past. I think Nebraska can hang in there. I'm just not really ready to trust Northwestern laying 8.5, especially with one of their key cogs out of the lineup. So, not a strong play of mine, but I stepped in and grabbed a little Nebraska plus the points there.
Matt Varnum not doing a very good job with blocking people today. He's been all over the place. You're definitely not a high percentage today, Varnum. You're off your rocker a little bit. I've already had to block a couple people. I don't know where he is. Varnum, you work for me now. All right. All right, guys. Other than that, we're good to go. Everyone have a great night. It's about 5:50 here. I gotta get off the air. I've done a lot of stuff today. Ian, listen to what I did today. I did the right side of campus. I did the bowl wrap-up show with all the guys at SBR at 12.
And I'm sure you're thrilled that that's almost done.
It is done. So I did that, and then I did the bet buffet at 3. Then right after that, I called Morency and did Morency Unfiltered, which will be on tomorrow night.
Yep.
I did that, and then I did this. So.
Wow, that's a full day. That's going to be my day tomorrow because I got the round table. Well, not really, actually, tomorrow. I got the round table and I got the late night show with Gabe. So it's not a huge day tomorrow. It's got nothing on you in that regard. But I've said it before. You deserve a ton of credit for all the time and hours and manpower you spend doing shows. I could never do it, that many shows, that many hours. But I appreciate the effort you go through to do it. So, you deserve credit for it.
I want to let everyone know also, Sportsbook Review up at SBR tomorrow. We're actually starting another show, 7 o'clock Eastern every Wednesday night. Donnie Wrightside and I, the SBR featured game of the night. We're going to pick a game out 7 o'clock every Wednesday, and we're going to do a little play-by-play, color commentary during the game. Have some fun with that. Give some live bets out. Do some second-half wagering. People like my play-by-play, Ian Cameron, so we'll get to that. It'll be fun because I'll actually be able to study the teams a little bit and know every single player. So I urge you to tune in for that. We had a fun time with the betcast in football. We're going to be doing them. Ian's going to be involved with them for the playoffs. So catch it tomorrow. Florida State, UNC. We're going to do that game, which will be fun. Me and Donnie and Ian, you'll be on with us for the NFL, and I'm sure we'll see you on the betcast as well.
I am planning on it this weekend. Of course, I'm in Vancouver, so it'll be a no-go. But divisional round, conference championships in the NFL, sign me up. I'll be in on those betcasts for sure. It'll be a lot of fun.
I actually think you might want to talk to your friend Morency, because he was talking to us about you guys were going to do the Bills Jaguar game, supposedly.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah. No, I'll be there in that bar wherever we're doing that thing in Vancouver. That'll be a lot.
You might be right next to each other doing it. That would be fun. But all right, guys, have a great night. Appreciate you all tuning in. Hit the like button. Tell your friends. And appreciate you hitting me up here today and watching the show. Thanks, Ian, for joining me. We'll be back tomorrow when we do this one more time. I'm on tonight, play of the day, over 158.5. William and Mary, James Madison. Ian, real quick, one more time, give out your plays.
I like the 2 overs in the CAA. Hofstra over with Northeastern, Drexel over with NC Wilmington. Really, other than that, I like TCU quite a bit, Penn State, Mississippi State, Xavier. Let's roll with those ones. And I got a few others as well, but those are the main ones. Let's go. Let's cash some tickets tonight. It'll be a lot of fun. Hope everyone good luck out there on the Tuesday Night Hoops board.
Very good. Ian Cameron, do want to do one more thing before we go. And I want to shout out to all the great people of South London, if you will. They have a soccer club there. It's called Crystal Palace. They did some good things for me today, and I want to leave us with a beautiful rendition of this. Crystal Palace, baby. Let's go.
Plus what, 290 on that sucker? Wow. How's that for a nice plus price ticket to stick in your pipe and smoke?
How about that? Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, motherfucker.
There you go.
All right, everyone have a great night. Have a nice night, Ian. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.